Hey everyone! Before we get into the story, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories like this. She texted me at 8:17 p.m. Short, sharp, almost dismissive. Explanation later. A single line, but it carried weight, unmistakable and deliberate. It wasn't curiosity. It wasn't concern. It was a challenge, a subtle attempt to assert control in a situation she had already tangled beyond reason. I stare at my phone for a long moment, replaying months of patience, careful reasoning, and restrained responses to deception. Then I typed one measured reply. Excellent. My lawyer will listen. I didn't panic. I didn't plead. I didn't curse. I had learned, through every betrayal, every manipulation, that calm often carries far more power than anger. And in that quiet calm, I felt a small, steady triumph. This wasn't just about legalities. It was about reclaiming authority over a relationship that had long since spiraled out of control. It had begun months earlier, subtle and almost imperceptible. Jessica, my wife of 7 years, had started withdrawing, words and touches becoming sparse, her attention easily distracted. At first, I chalked it up to fatigue, work pressures, or stress. I adapted, showed patience, empathy, but the coldness in her responses, the dismissive tone, the absence of intimacy, were signs I could no longer ignore. The breaking point came one evening when I returned early from work, hoping for a simple acknowledgement, maybe even a shared dinner. Instead, I found avoidance. Her eyes darted away, her phone gripped tight, her shoulders tense in a way that spoke louder than words. In that moment, it became clear, whatever she had planned, it wasn't about us. It was about control. I began observing quietly, cataloging patterns, messages, and inconsistencies. Every unanswered call, every abrupt departure, every small contradiction became pieces of a puzzle I was assembling. And when that text arrived, explanation later, it confirmed what I already knew. She had underestimated me, underestimated the awareness I had honed over years of watching, waiting, and calculating. I didn't respond right away. I let it linger, letting her sit in the uncertainty of her own creation, knowing full well that I had the means to protect myself and hold her accountable. When I finally replied, my words were deliberate, firm, and unmistakable. Excellent. My lawyer will listen. The following days were tense, silent, deliberate. Jessica could feel that I wasn't reacting out of anger or panic. I wasn't chasing explanations, begging for clarity, or demanding apologies. I had removed myself from that dynamic entirely. Every interaction was measured, controlled, designed to communicate one truth. I was no longer at the mercy of her whims. She tried subtle tactics first. Casual questions, short messages, gestures meant to provoke curiosity or guilt. Are you okay? One text read. Another, I think we should talk tonight. I remained calm, polite, untouchable. I'll discuss it with my lawyer. I replied when necessary. Nothing more. Her frustration became obvious in the over-explaining. Every word an attempt to reclaim control she had lost. This was a moment I'd been preparing for. Months of withdrawal, observation, and quiet assertion leading here. I had learned that confrontation rarely brings clarity. Calm detachment, however, exposes everything. People reveal themselves when desperate to regain control. Jessica, faced with my indifference, began to unravel. I remembered our early years, the laughter, the shared dreams, the nights that felt infinite. Those memories were vivid, but they no longer held sway. This wasn't about punishment or revenge. It was about self-preservation. I had given all my trust, all my patience, and she had chosen manipulation over honesty. Now, the roles were reversed. The day it all became clear arrived suddenly. I was at the attorney's office finalizing documents, ensuring every protection and detail was in place. My phone buzzed constantly with her frantic, pleading messages. I didn't respond immediately. I let her sit in the consequences of her own decisions, a reflection of the chaos she had caused. By evening, her tone had changed. The carefully maintained calm of previous weeks was gone. Desperation crept in. She tried every tactic she had used before, manipulation, feigned concern, but none worked. The power she relied on, the leverage she thought she held, was gone. In that moment, I recognized the quiet triumph that had been building within me. Control had returned to where it belonged. With me, the final confrontation came unexpectedly. Jessica appeared at my apartment, face tight with frustration and fear, clutching her phone like a weapon. "Daniel, we need to talk," she said, sharp yet edged with desperation. I looked up calmly, meeting her gaze without anger, hesitation, or guilt. "I'm listening," I said, measured, unyielding. She tried to push, justify, reclaim some sense of control. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she whispered, but her words were hollow. I had seen this pattern before. Promises without follow-through, words without action. Calmly, I gestured toward the chair. "Sit. Let's be clear. I have explained everything to my lawyer. This conversation is no longer about control. It's about facts." For the first time, panic appeared in her eyes. The woman who had wielded warnings and ultimatums to manipulate me had lost her power. Every attempt to provoke guilt or fear fell flat. I wasn't angry. I wasn't vengeful. I was untouchable because I had removed myself entirely from her expectations. She had assumed I would bend, plead, attempt reconciliation on her terms. But I didn't. As she fumbled through excuses, I realized the quiet satisfaction of clarity, not retaliation. Months of manipulation, subtle threats, and her final warning could no longer reach me. The power dynamic had shifted completely. She was grasping for control where none existed. For the first time in months, I felt a calm that was almost intoxicating. Steady, free, untethered. Later that evening, reflecting on the weeks of tension and deliberate patience, I understood that I didn't need her explanation, apology, or approval. I had regained autonomy, dignity, and peace of mind. And in that realization, I smiled quietly. Sometimes power isn't loud. Victory isn't confrontation or revenge. It's stepping back, reclaiming control over your own life, and refusing to be bound by someone else's manipulations. Jessica's final warning lost meaning the moment I stopped needing it. In that freedom, I finally found myself.